Hey Scrappers, Tom here from iScrap, and we wanted to talk about a recap of the 2022 catalytic converter market. This recap is brought to you by rrcats.com, so if you're looking for a quote today, you can always reach out to the team at rrcats.com to be able to get price quotes along with free shipping on all OEM catalytic converters. Now, what's happened in 2022? Well, we certainly did not have a repeat of 2021 when we saw all-time high catalytic converter prices. We had all types of different ebbs and flows this year, and as is going to be a theme throughout all of the videos, the Ukrainian conflict, supply and demand, and oil prices really had a big effect on the catalytic converter markets for the year. Now, as you can see on the chart that I'm going to show, we're going to talk about platinum prices first. Now, platinum prices peaked in March around $1,150 per ounce. Now, the low that we saw this year was around $825 per ounce, but overall we saw about an average of $1,000 per ounce. And what we really like, if you look at this chart, is the last 2 months of the year is when we saw that platinum price hovering and staying around $900 to $1,000 per ounce, which is really a very strong price. I actually looked up some historical platinum prices, and the highest that we saw in the last 10 years was about $1,600 per ounce. So we're hoping to see some type of an increase with supply and demand, but right now if we have a price around $1,000, that's really a very strong number when it comes to catalytic converters. Now, one of the reasons that we did see some prices shoot up in March and April of 2022, that Ukrainian conflict and then the Russian supply of materials came into questioning. So what does that mean? A lot of these precious metals come out of Russia. So a lot of people were scared that they weren't going to be able to get enough. The auto industry was not going to be able to get enough materials in to make their catalytic converters. And that was one of the fears that we saw kind of hit and strike the market when it came to precious metal prices. Now, if you're going to look at these charts, I'm going to pull up my palladium prices. My palladium prices topped out in March 2022 around $3,040 per ounce. Now, that was a very high price as we saw the average coming down and averaged out 2022 around $2,000 per ounce. Now, of course, you don't sell catalytic converters in the per ounce basis, but these numbers will help give you an idea of why and how the prices are dictated and how the average catalytic converter price for the year is affected. Because back in March and April, we saw average catalytic converter prices around $200 per cat. Now, throughout the entire year, in average, we kind of hovered in the $155 per cat range. So that was one of the reasons that we've seen some of these price dips and these discrepancies. Now, towards the second half of the year, if you're looking at the palladium price chart, you'll start to see these markets dipping down from that $2,000 average. At the time of this recording, we actually have prices around $1,700 per ounce. We haven't seen a strong demand going into 2023. Now, of course, palladium, platinum, and rhodium, while those are used in many industries, they're primarily used in the catalytic converters that go into our regular everyday cars. So one of the questions that we look at is, what's consumer demand for new cars going to be in 2023, and how is that going to affect the catalytic converter prices? A couple things to take into account and to really think about. Automakers are being pushed to either go electric, we know that, so that hurts catalytic converters, but we also know that that's not going to happen overnight. So automakers are being pushed to have higher fuel economy. How do they get there? How do they have less emissions coming out of the cars? By having more precious metals packed into different catalytic converters. So these catalytic converters that are going to be going on to many of the 2023 and 2024 model, gas and diesel engines, they're going to have more of these precious metals packed into them. So 7 to 15 years from now, when those cars come into the scrap world, they'll actually have a higher value than many of the cars and the cats that came out of the 90s, 2000s, and the 2010 cars. So that's something else to keep in mind. Now, one of the most surprising and unfortunately upsetting markets was the rhodium market and how that was really traded throughout 2022. Now, back in 2021, we saw an all-time high price of June 2021 of rhodium at $30,000 per ounce. At the time of this recording, rhodium is at $11,650 per ounce, a very far cry from the $30,000 that it hit in June 2021. Throughout the year, the highest prices that we saw for rhodium was $21,000 per ounce, which ended up being around March, that same Ukrainian conflict time. And we started to then see the prices really hitting a decline, kind of bottoming out in June, having a little bit of a signs of life throughout the summer and the fall, before really hitting a lower point in December 2022. Now moving forward, I don't see a large uptick in these prices, and as rhodium is really primarily used in the catalytic converter world, unless these automakers are pumping triple the amount of rhodium into their catalytic converters, we do not expect to see a massive increase in pricing. So how is that going to help or hurt? On the diesel side of things, diesel catalytic converters, especially in the newer trucks that use the DEF fluid, they don't have rhodium. So we're really looking towards the palladium and platinum prices. But some other things that we saw here, foreign pre-catalytic converters averaged around $45 throughout the year. Larger grades, XL4Ns, and different codes, of course, that can be found stamped on the cats, hovered around $400 per OEM cat. So having an increase in rhodium prices will affect a lot of the foreign and domestic gas engine catalytic converter prices, but not as much the diesel side of things. So where do we go into 2023? Well, I talked to rrcats.com, I looked at the price charts, I looked at historical charts past 1 year, and I think 2023, the first half of it is going to be a little slow. As we have mentioned in a couple of other videos, supply and demand in 2021 really hurt the supply and demand in 2022. An undersupply of products such as cars and TVs, but we'll talk about cars because we're talking cats in 2021, that kind of pushed some of the prices sideways because while the material was there, they couldn't put the cats into the cars, into the dealerships, onto the road. 2022 started to see a lot of these automakers playing catch up, being able to get these cats onto the cars, into the consumers' driveways, onto the road, and that was able to start the increased demand again for the catalytic converter markets. So going into 2023, averaging around $150, $155 per OEM catalytic converter for 2022, we expect that price to be relatively the same in the first half of next year. What's going to happen from there? More clean energy initiatives, more increased fuel efficiencies. These should lead to catalytic converter prices eventually having an upwards climb, but the supply and demand of the market and the consumers are really going to dictate it. So please read the description below this video. We have a full report for our 2022 recap and 2023 preview. Please leave your comments. Stay healthy. Until next year, scrappers, I'll scrap you later. Thanks for checking out this scrap video. For more exclusive scrap video content, please become a YouTube member of our channel today. Thank you, and I'll scrap you later.